Welcome to Extreme East Texas Storm Ready. I'm CBS 19 Chief Meteorologist Brett Anthony.
And I'm meteorologist Joel Robinson.
And I'm Jamie Hazard.
Tonight we want to go over all things about spring weather. And one of the first things is people want to know what kind of season will it be. Let's get right into the spring forecast. It's severe weather season when we start talking about severe weather outlooks from the Storm Prediction Center. And we know we're going to have somewhat of an active season because we are looking at global weather patterns that suggest we're coming out of La Nina and headed toward El Nino. So this spring we're likely going to be in what's called a neutral phase. And when we're in a neutral phase, the middle part of the country can light up with severe weather outlooks. Another thing we'll look at is pattern recognition. And we do that by looking at the long-range cycling weather pattern theory. And that long-range weather pattern theory would tell us that several times in the spring, we're going to have low pressure systems over West Texas with copious amounts of Pacific moisture and Gulf moisture flowing in. How do we know that? Well, we saw this in October, we saw it in November, we saw it in January, we saw it in February. We know it's coming back. Second pattern that will be repeating, and we've seen plenty of this, warm and dry stretches, perhaps as long as 10 days to maybe 2 weeks of warm and dry weather during the spring. And a third pattern that will happen, but not as often, maybe just a couple of times, will be these sudden dips of cold air that push all the way down almost to the Gulf Coast. In springtime, that can just mean some chilly air. It doesn't necessarily mean that we'll have any more freezes and or snow. All right, so where do we sit here in this spring setup? Well, we're currently entering cycle number 3 of this year's pattern. Heavy rain and flash flooding that we saw in October and November, that's going to repeat in late March and late April. And then remember the Valentine's Day severe weather setup? That will return during the peak of severe weather season. So we're going to help you keep score at home, and here's how. We've made a calendar here, picking out some of these dates that you can write down and see if we get this forecast right. Again, we know, looking back into November, that part of the pattern will come back in late March with heavy rain and thunderstorms. And then we look ahead to April. There was a cold shot of air with some heavy rainfall in the middle part of January. That's coming back at the beginning of April. And then we look toward the end of the month of April. And guess what? Remember the Valentine's Day storm we had? Well, that comes back end of April, 1st of May. And then as we get into the peak weather season of May, we see a couple of stretches here where we could have not every day of severe weather, but multiple setups that could give us showers and or thunderstorms on each of those days. Then when we make it into June, we're not talking about tornado setups. We are talking about nighttime thunderstorms, straight line winds that come through with some heavy rainfall. In fact, between the middle part of May, middle part of June, we often have the heaviest rain we have all year. All right, so to recap, up to a dozen setups are possible this spring. Several multi-day threats will be there, but we could go 2 weeks without any severe weather season at all. So for more details on this forecast, visit cbs19.tv/weather.
It's a sound we all know, the tornado siren. Recently, I spoke to some siren experts to find out just how they work.
The City of Tyler Outdoor Early Warning System. This is only a test.
They're radio controlled. They can be activated by cellular telephone.
If this were an actual emergency.
Some are actually activated with the NOAA Weather Service. They have automatic activation.
Andy Goddard is the owner of Goddard Enterprises in Edmond, Oklahoma. He installs and maintains outdoor warning sirens all across the country, including some here in East Texas.
We've worked on Tyler's sirens since probably 2007. Tyler has done a really good job of bringing their stuff up to, the current. They had their system was put in like 99, all those mods. And the city has worked really well in upgrading that. Along with the telemetry, we've come a long way.
Whether it's activated by NOAA or a local dispatcher, someone is always looking at conditions. Now, with the smartphones and weather apps available today, you might be wondering, are sirens still necessary?
Sirens are a tool in the notification toolbox. That's what I tell my customers. You have the apps that can communicate. You have all these other interfaces with technology that can notify people, but a siren going off in the public typically gets people attention and it gets them talking.
Now, behind the noise, sirens can come in many different components, including a radio, an antenna, batteries, or in some cases, a motor or even speakers. So that's a lot of moving parts. Sam Compton from Goddard Enterprises really emphasizes keeping those sirens maintained.
You can put a brand new $30,000 siren up and never touch it again. And, that siren is only going to continually work until the batteries inevitably fail or, these wear items do wear out. There still is limitations to maintenance. And that is the key principle of sirens, is prolonging the life and making sure that they are as effective as they need to be, is regular maintenance and regular health checks.
Sirens also typically have about a mile sound range and should never be expected to be heard indoors. Hence the official name, outdoor warning sirens.
Just because you can hear it inside doesn't mean you should depend on hearing it inside, because you might have a vacuum running in the living room, or somebody might be doing something in another room that overcomes the ambient noise of the siren.
Now, luckily, there are many sources of indoor warning methods as well, such as a NOAA weather radio, your smartphone, or even your TV. And you should never rely on just one of those methods just because it could fail. Outside of the studio here in Tyler, I'm CBS 19 meteorologist Joel Robinson.
There are 23,500 square miles in the Piney Woods, and you can count on one hand the number of public tornado shelters. Here's a deeper look at the shelter shortage in East Texas. We know East Texas has a radar gap. We explored the issue during our fall weather special in 2023. Our story went in depth into how Congressman Nathaniel Moran is trying to pass a law to change how severe weather systems are tracked in East Texas.
We have a gap here, and it's hurting us.
The so-called radar gap is still here, and now a new concern. Mississippi State University meteorologist Craig Ceci is researching public tornado shelters across the United States. His data shows East Texas has a public tornado shelter shortage.
They're out there in some of our communities, especially here in the Deep South. Not so much in East Texas, unfortunately, at this time. But tornado shelters are out there, and we need to be more aware of them because during a major event, they could save lives.
Dr. Ceci found roughly 2,400 public tornado shelters nationwide, but there is a noticeable hole in East Texas. Just 3 public shelters made the cut.
I only counted if it meets FEMA standards, like that can withstand a violent tornado, because I want it to be the gold standard of tornado sheltering. And at the same time, I don't want to deal with liability issues. That can be a big issue if people find a shelter that doesn't manage to hold up, say if an EF4 or EF5 tornado goes through.
The lack of public shelters is a concern, so we came here to the National Weather Service office in Shreveport to find out what you can do and what meteorologists recommend before the storm hits.
The availability of public shelters, there's a lot that goes into that.
Chris Nuttall is the warning coordination meteorologist at the National Weather Service office in Shreveport. He knows designating a building a public tornado shelter isn't a snap decision.
These cities and towns and counties, they have to consider, well, whose responsibility is it going to be to open it? When do we open it? Who do we, what are the restrictions with allowing people in? Do we allow pets in?
Big decisions, considering meteorologists at the Shreveport office issued 42 tornado warnings across East Texas in 2025. Most of us will shelter in our homes or apartments, but there is concern for anyone living in a manufactured or mobile home.
Mobile homes and manufactured homes are one of the worst places to be for tornadoes.
That's why Nuttall says it's important to know your weather plan and know where you are going before a tornado warning is issued.
Just because a community or a county doesn't have their publicly designated shelter that's administered by the community or by the county, that doesn't mean there aren't public places to go.
For instance, the City of Tyler's tornado response plan lists several businesses, churches, and public buildings open during business hours. A web search found animal shelters that are tornado shelters when open. Nuttall says the key is to staying prepared.
Forever days out. People should have their plan. They should know their plan, practice it, kind of have things ready to go.
The best option is having a built-in safe room or underground storm shelter. Maverick Homes installs storm shelters anchored into the ground with doors built to withstand an EF3 rated tornado with winds up to 165 miles an hour.
You can have this 10 steps outside your door or wherever, and it doesn't take very long at all. They're real easy to open the door on, where some of you have the real heavy lids. These are assisted by the hydraulics. They're real easy to open, get in, and get closed and stay safe.
But safety comes at a cost. Complete installs run around $10,000.
You don't see a lot of them around. A lot of people just don't know about them. They're not cheap, but if it saves your life, how much is that worth?
Back at the National Weather Service office in Shreveport, Nuttall has one final reminder about being prepared and leaving your home for a public tornado shelter.
And you can't wait until the warning is issued to drive to these places. When the warning is issued, time's up.
The tornado that came through last year was coming right at us.
Last year, a tornado moved dangerously close to Brook Hill School and is a powerful reminder that in East Texas, these storms can intensify fast and change direction just as quickly. At the Brook Hill School, tornado safety is built into the routine.
We have procedures. We have, our safety manual that we have in place, and that's why you do the drills. Practice makes perfect. So everybody gets in place. You activate the active alert system, active defender system, and get on the radio, and everybody checking their buildings and make sure everybody's secure.
When a warning is issued, multiple staff members immediately begin tracking the storm while the campus-wide alert system is activated. Students are then moved into the safest spaces inside each building, interior hallways and underground areas away from windows.
So this particular building, this hallway's right in the middle. There's no windows. It's in the middle of your building. You have firewalls built around. It's a great spot. Perfect location.
One of the primary shelter locations on campus is the American Freedom Museum.
So this is the American Freedom Museum, and what we do during tornado is we have everyone from Founders Building and Lauderdale Building come to this location. It's one of the safest spots for a tornado on campus. We're underground, no windows, just a great place.
And for parents who may feel the urge to rush to campus during a warning,
just stay home. Stay safe. We've got drills. We go through drills first half of the year, second half of the year, that we practice things. We have safety teams in place that we're going to make sure they're taken care of.
Preparation, communication, and practice. School leaders say that's what keeps students safe when severe weather hits East Texas. At the Emergency Operations Center in Smith County, Brandon Moore, Emergency Management Coordinator, says the safest place is the furthest point inside a building.
To the furthest point inside, preferably no windows and a completely enclosed small room with structurally sound as possible.
Wide open spaces can turn dangerous fast with flying debris and nowhere safe to shield yourself. And if you're on the road when a tornado warning is issued, your car is not safe shelter.
Many people feel safe in their vehicles, but they're not, especially during a tornado. So find shelter.
If possible, pull into a sturdy building. And if there's no building nearby,
just the lowest area you can find, a ditch, culvert, something like that. Not an underpass.
And don't try to outrun a tornado.
That's a common misconception, but what people don't know is what route it's going to take. You could run into its path inadvertently.
As we head deeper into severe weather season, Moore says preparation is everything, and he shares a very unique and helpful tip.
You can go into any AI platform, type in what your parameters are, and it'll spit out a checklist for you. That's actually a really cool thing that people have started doing that really works.
Having that plan in place before the storm hits can make all the difference. In Smith County, for CBS 19, I'm Jamie Hazard.
Spring weather brings severe thunderstorms with damaging winds, large hail, and even the threat of tornadoes. But even non-severe thunderstorms can still be dangerous. The National Weather Service says 20 people were struck and killed by lightning in 2025, making it the deadliest year since 2022. Luckily, there are measures in place to keep everyone safe. Recently, I visited All Saints Episcopal School here in Tyler to learn more about its lightning alert system.
We have around 600 students, and so keeping them safe while they go in and out of class is of the utmost priority to us.
All Saints School is equipped with an automatic lightning alert system. The system sends email notifications automatically to teachers and staff, notifying that there's lightning in the area.
We use Earth Networks, which allows for an automated update, and you can customize the updates and the alerts to the mile radius in which lightning is within a certain distance from the school. It is automatically set during the day to go off when lightning is detected within 5 miles, and an email is automatically generated and goes to every single faculty member on campus.
Earth Networks is the system All Saints uses. The system has a mounted sensor with an antenna tuned into a middle-range radio frequency, which can catch interference when lightning strikes. When the system detects that interference, it detects that as lightning and maps it out with the assistance of other nearby sensors. And if the lightning happens to be within the set radius of the customer, an alert is transmitted.
Once the lightning alert goes off, they have to stay in the building in which they are in until Earth Networks notifies us that there's an all clear, in which it sends another automated email and we do another phone announcement.
The system radius is customizable, and the National Weather Service says that lightning can strike up to 10 miles away from a thunderstorm and sometimes more in rare cases. So with a sophisticated lightning detection system like this brings a great source of protection to keep staff and students safe. Not all places have a lightning detection system, so a simple way of protecting yourself from lightning is remember the saying, when thunder roars, go indoors. If you can hear thunder, you are close enough to be struck by lightning. Stay indoors for at least 30 minutes after the last thunderclap, and do not hide under trees or go near metal objects. If you are on the lake or in the pool, get out immediately and go inside. While you're indoors, avoid using any wired electrical equipment or plumbing, as electricity can travel through and cause harm. Consider these safety tips this spring as thunderstorms become more common. For CBS 19, I'm meteorologist Joel Robinson.
Spring in East Texas is beautiful, but it's also unpredictable. One week we could be at 80 degrees, and then the next we could have heavy rain or even a cold snap. Gardeners are frustrated sometimes, wondering how they can keep their flower beds safe. So tonight we're connecting the forecast to your flower beds. Warmer afternoons may tempt you to start planting, but local experts say patience pays off. I headed over to Tyler Rose Gardens to discuss timing and preparation with Jana Pirtle, horticulturist for the city of Tyler.
The average last date of frost for East Texas is March 15th. Looking at the weather forecast for the next 2 weeks, I'm only seeing lows in the 50s, so I think we're safe. I think spring is here.
But that doesn't mean everything should go in the ground just yet.
So as far as annuals that really need the warm weather, things like vinca, sweet potato vines, and things like that, I would hold off just a couple more weeks on those.
Some plants can handle a brief dip in temperature.
There are some warm season annuals that can tolerate a little bit of frost, things like petunias. And there's actually a couple of varieties of petunias that not only can tolerate the frost, they can also tolerate heat. Bubblegum pink, Laura Bush petunia, which is a Texas superstar. So those can tolerate a frost now as well as the heat later in the summer.
And if East Texas throws us another surprise cold snap?
So if it's just going to get down to 32 and you've got something out there that is sensitive to the cold, water it a little bit, put a frost cloth over it, and we're good. Don't use plastic.
And when experts are asked if gardeners should follow the calendar or forecast for planting times,
I think they should follow the forecast, absolutely.
Over in the Idea Garden, Elizabeth Woldrop, Smith County Master Gardener, tells us how spring doesn't just bring sunshine, it also brings storm season.
The biggest mistake that we see is that people get so excited on the first few warm days of spring that they start going to the big box stores and buying stuff and get way ahead on their planting.
And storms can create problems even after plants are in the ground.
If you have prepared your soil well and you have good draining soil, and we do have great soil here in East Texas because there's a lot of sand in it. As long as you've got good draining soil and you're not living on a clay pan, you don't really have to worry about the amount of rain that we're getting.
But extended cold and wet conditions can lead to trouble.
If there's extended cold periods after those rains, then some plants may rot or get a fungal infection. So you want to watch for that.
Strong winds and hail can also do damage fast.
All of our storms come with huge amounts of wind at the front of those storms. And so you really need to look, especially if you've got young plants in the ground, garden type plants like tomatoes and peppers and stuff, that their stems are strong and they can take the battering of the wind.
So, what's the secret to spring gardening in East Texas?
Just pay attention to the weather and understand that plants do better in some kinds of weather than others, but any extreme weather event is going to affect your plants.
And when it comes to planting vegetables, timing matters just as much as temperature.
Timing is everything, especially with vegetables, because we have limited opportunities to grow the certain kinds of vegetables that we love here. And so really pay attention.
From frost blankets to watching the 10-day forecast, experts say successful East Texas gardeners don't just follow tradition, they follow the weather.
If you missed any of these stories, you can watch them on our website, cbs19.tv.
And make sure to download CBS 19 Plus on your smart TV.
That's all the time we have. Thanks for watching Extreme East Texas Storm Ready.
This is the worst storm that they've seen come through.
Any one of these could begin to rotate.
Definitely some massive power just going on out here. The whole neighborhood is completely dark.
Some widespread scattered showers and thunderstorms.
Bulk of that damage seen across Smith County.
Long enough to split a home in half with a tree.
We have 54 lightning strikes now in the last 15 minutes.
It's been a whirlwind kind of weather day.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with CBS 19 and CBS 19 Plus.